everyone, my name is Tone and welcome to the HTD Show, the hot topic discussion. Today, we're here with Esmeralda. How you doing? Hey.
How's it going?
All right, back again for another round, right?
Let's do it.
All right, so today's discussion, we're going to be talking about life after the insurrection and where we are today and, you know, the possibilities of moving forward, hopefully moving forward in a positive direction, better direction. After the events of the insurrection, number 45, President Donald J. Trump, ex-president, I should say, was impeached for a second time. But for some crazy reason, and I say crazy because I don't understand how you can be impeached twice and still have a stranglehold on lawmakers and such support with the people. I mean, that's really incredible to me. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So how do you feel about that? What are your feelings about that?
Well, just like the last time, I have a lot of feelings about this. We were talking right after the insurrection on January 6th, and really an unbelievable situation that took place at the Capitol, and highly disturbing to know that it was less than a month and a half ago. And I feel like as a country, we haven't really addressed the situation. Sure, Trump was impeached in one house, and but as we now know, in the second house, didn't go much further. And even though we have a new administration, and the administration has been moving forward with a lot of different changes, including trying to reverse some of the things that Trump had put into place, there is still the pending what is going to happen. People are still being rounded up from what happened in that day. But when we look at the way they're being treated, when we look at what the next steps look like for ex-President Trump, as well as the individuals that were taking place, that it doesn't feel like there has been any sense of I was going to say closure. Closure is not the word I'm looking for
Consequence.
Justice, justice for this BS that has taken place. And for us to just move forward with our daily lives and act like there wasn't an insurrection, act like people weren't trying to do a revolt and a rebellion, it's ridiculous to me.
It is. It's totally ridiculous. I mean, because it's like selective memory is crazy. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, this guy gets impeached for a second time. Now, I was about to say I understand if they had an issue with the first time. I really don't, because, you know, I have my own views about that. But for his supporters, if they say that, like, for instance, you know, ever since he got in office, they've been trying to get him out, and, you know, they had it in for him, and you know, so they dismissed the first impeachment. Okay, but the second, how can you mess up that bad twice? I mean, the first impeachment was pretty bad. I mean, they had witnesses and everything. You know, they had, well, first off, let's go over what he was impeached for. And what was it? Obstruction of Congress and abuse of power. Those were the two articles that he, you know, was impeached for the first time. And they had witnesses. One of the witnesses, well, actually, all three of them were career officials, you know, nonpartisan career officials. And one of them, they actually conspired to get her out of that role so that they could do what they were trying to do. She was like, you know, the cog in the wheel. She was like what was going to prevent them from having an easy, I don't know, session, an easy conversation with this smaller country that they were going to try to punk to get some kind of dirt on his political opponent. And they didn't want people who could, you know, block their efforts, tell, or blow the whistle. So that was the first one, right? Then the second one comes around. Second one comes around, it was because of the insurrection. And then they have tons of evidence. I mean, like if you watch the trial, the second impeachment, they showed tons of footage and they showed the progression of how it led up to that day. How for the longest, for months, for years actually, how he was talking about, you know, oh, if I lose, it's going to be stolen from me, and there's no way that we can lose, and all this stuff, and they're trying to steal this and all this, and then when he actually lost, it went from they're trying to steal this to I didn't lose, we won in a landslide, and then back to they're stealing it from us and all of this and whatnot. So, you know, you rile these people up, and then you let them loose, and then you be like, I didn't do that. That wasn't my fault. I mean, okay, I don't get it. And then they still support him. How is that?
You're confused on why he still has so much support, or why still almost half the nation voted for him, regardless of him still losing? Yeah.
70 million.
You're confused on why that is?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
okay.
Go ahead.
I mean, because I'm like this. Like, I don't care what party you're from. I mean, if you screw up, you screw up. If you've done something wrong or you've done something dirty, you need to go. It doesn't matter. But it's painfully obvious. One side is quick to get rid of people. The other side is quick to make excuses and give their people cover. I mean, it's like, you know, they can't hold their own people accountable, you know?
Well, it just shows a flaw in the system, though. When you think about it, we are having our senators, which are essentially split between Democrats and Republicans. You throw in a couple of independents in there, but essentially it's a two-party system. And you're saying in a two-party system, we want you to vote in a way that isn't biased. And the reality is that it's already biased. People had already made their minds up on how they were going to vote, even if they were even going to consider this case at all, because of their bias, because of political differences. This isn't like a regular court of law. And I think that that is wrong within our system to say that this House now looks to see if we should try somebody, when really you're not looking at things objectively. And when we think about our legal system, we think about our juror system, which, you know, if anyone actually ever answers the juror envelopes you get at home and not throw them away. First of all, the intention of that is that every citizen has a right to be on a juror and responsibility. And when you take on the responsibility, then we have this sections where we're looking to see if you have any biases or any reason why you wouldn't be able to give a just a decision on a case. But that isn't the case with the Senate. So what had taken place with the second impeachment and why it didn't go much further than let's listen to it, but we're still not going to vote for anything more to happen, is because it's already a biased system. There was nothing more to expect than that, regardless of how much evidence was presented. I think what the lawyers are doing with showing that footage was really difficult to watch. I mean, I was in tears, and I could not even work for hours after participating and just observing that, because there was stuff that I had not even seen when it originally took place, that we were reliving, and also seeing how honestly for the first time in quite some time, feeling some emotions towards what the police had to go through in battling this insurrection. And obviously we've learned, you know, suicides that took place afterwards. I mean, all of this is, the thing is, it's disturbing, but it's not hard to believe that it took place. And I actually do not find it hard to believe that people continue to support this man to this day. And I mentioned this when we spoke the last time. One of the big things we look at is, what access do we have? We are so divided that we just seek out information, or we are literally through algorithms given information that is connected to how we already believe. So we think about it, then it's like, are you spending time watching Fox News, or are you spending time watching other alternative media? That makes a difference on how things are given to you, how things are distributed to you, and how things are twisted. And so So when you say, how can one continue to support or think this way? It's very simple. If you are given one side of information and you are choosing to believe a leader that you think is supporting your rights, that you feel is connected, and you've been told repeatedly for years, things are being taken away from you by X people, let's blame immigrants, let's blame whoever. It's how is it not hard to believe people are just like, I'm just trying to fight back for myself and my country. I find that easy to believe. I don't agree with it, but I find it very easy to believe, on top of the racist undertones that is the United States.
I get that. I get that. The whole brainwashing scenario, and you've been led to believe something. But I want to take it back to like a basic premise of right and wrong. And I'll give you a perfect example. Like, for instance, like me, like Bill Cosby. I like Bill Cosby. I like The Cosby Show. I like Fat Albert. I like Bill Cosby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like what he did. I don't like what he did. You know what I mean? So just because I like Bill Cosby, do I think that he doesn't deserve any consequences? No. So that's where the problem is. You know what I mean? That's how I see. When you can break it down to, when you can separate yourself from, or your feelings from how you feel about a certain person to what's right and what's wrong, you know what I mean? It should be simple.
Well, one would say should.
For some people, a lot of people, it's a hard decision. Over 70 million is a hard decision. But I
well,
mean,
I don't. In this is a place where I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm not really saying I agree either, because should not be in our vocabulary is something that I learned for certain reasons. But right and wrong is not as black and white as black and white is. That's the reality. Like,
I totally get that.
For example, one would say, how could people continue to believe that segregation was right, or how slavery took place, or how all these other laws were enacted? Some people just follow the law. It's the law. And so therefore someone may say the law is right and black and white. But the reality, we had to constantly be pushing against unjust laws throughout the beginning of our nation. And so for the conservatives, or those who were Trumpsters, or those who still believe that this is the way, they may believe literally that they're right and others are wrong, and that at some point we should get with the program. And so when I think about, when you're mentioning right and wrong for who? How do you define what's right and what's wrong? It's just, do you go to the Bible? Does everyone believe the same Bible? Do you go by laws? Laws have been unjust.
And what I mean by that, I mean, like I said, we're taking it back to a very basic premise. Now, when I say right and wrong, okay, most of us agree. If you steal something from somebody, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Most of us agree that, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about on that.
That's in my circle.
I'm talking about on that simple level right there. Okay, there's a whole lot of other people that have another way of thinking, but we're just gonna keep rolling with that. Okay. So, right and wrong. There's just some things you just can't justify. I'm sorry. I'm like if they have you on tape stealing from a store, you're busted. That was wrong. They got the evidence. I don't see how you can be like, he wasn't wrong. Oh, now I can understand, like, maybe he was stealing because, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he was stealing to feed his family. Okay. The cause was noble. That was a noble cause. The act was wrong.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah.
So when I hear people say, well, that's what they believe, they really believe. Okay, so just because you believe that that's wrong, you are ready to like torch the country and forget whatever laws that we have on the table that everybody else has to abide by. You're going to push all of those aside for what?
I think that's a big thing, is what is the cause? Was the cause we want Trump because we need this dictator because he's feeding into what I need? Is the cause the racist undertone that I believe it is for a white cause, thinking that minorities are taking over and ruining our country? What is the cause? As far as my understanding is, there is nothing just about this current cause, which made the insurrection something that we should continue to not ignore. We should continue to criminalize anybody and everybody who has been a part of that. It isn't a cause, stop killing me on the streets. That wasn't the cause to break into the Capitol. The cause was, let's keep this man who has been pushing down every other person that doesn't look like him, and let's try to see how we can keep him in office unjustly. Like, this isn't a just cause. So in that sense, I very much agree with you. And one would say, well, right and wrong. Clearly, I disagree that was a right thing to do. It is completely wrong in my lens. It's just a matter of like, who are we speaking to and who are speaking to them? And at the end of the day, I really feel like one of the larger issues is we have been more polarized than ever. And I think it's even before Trump came to office, we became more polarized even when Obama was in office, because there was a lot of people that were very unhappy with his place there, including the last president-elect, who was on this whole, he's not even a citizen thing, just really just dismissing him as an individual to begin with in this country and his right to be president. And so I think this is just a longer conversation that's ongoing. Like, what is our end goal here as a society and as a country? Are we leaning towards trying to be more just with each other? How do we build more understanding rather than just saying like, why are you following such an idiotic leader? Clearly this was wrong. How do we then get you to decide to see what is right, to see what is best that benefits all of us versus to stay polarized? And then, because then we're just like, how do we keep navigating this polarized country that we're just going to have forever? To me, those are things that I think about.
Right. Well, I mean, and not that it was perfect before. Like before Trump, things weren't perfect. And after Trump, they became much worse. But at least there was a time before Trump to where both parties agreed, yeah, you can't do that. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things to where it's like, even on the Republican side, I mean, like if somebody on that side screwed up so bad, even they would be like, yeah, we really want to help you out, but we're going to cut ties with you because, yeah, you're going to mess up what we got going on. You know what I mean? Not we're going to shun you because it's the right thing to do. We're going to shun you because you're going to mess up what we got going on. So at least they did that much. It's not even there anymore. It's like, I don't care what you did, just as long as you hate them, whatever you do is okay. You know?
I mean, I know what you're saying, but I want to end on a more hopeful place, because the reality is that not 100% of the Republicans voted the way they did in the second impeachment trial. There were some that went crossing lines and have received repercussions from their own members because of that action. But then that also gives a sense of some kind of hope to logic, to having a stance, to recognizing there is a line that cannot be drawn. And then there were still a majority of people, even though again it was more under party lines, but include the independents and include those 5 other Republicans. It's still a line that was drawn by the majority in that space. But they are our representatives, but they aren't the only people that make up this nation. They are voted in by us. They serve us. And I think we as a people tend to forget the power that we have to keep them to represent us or to not represent us. I think the more that we get engaged and continue to be engaged as citizens.
I think one of the things a lot of people talk about when they talk about us getting to a place to where, you know, we are not so divided and not so at each other's throat, is to start at a place to where we all can agree. You know, look for the things that we agree upon and have in common and build upon those, and you know, to get to a better place. So I say that. Yeah, okay, so I say that to say, you know, at some point, people are gonna have to be like, you know, like some of the Republican voters that were on TV that were like, enough is enough. but we need more people to be like, enough is enough. I don't think enough people gotten to that point yet. And that's the problem why we find ourselves where we are, where you have this twice impeached president, you know, for a second time, having so much, what's the word? Having so much backup, so much, so many people supporting them, so much support. There you go. It's crazy.
Clearly. And it's not gonna be resolved in just one or two chats. It's just ongoing. And as usual, it's a pleasure to be here talking with you and seeing how we move this discussion forward.
Yes, same here. Hopefully that you know, more people will have these discussions, because I think it's these discussions that are going to help in the healing process. I mean, because part of the taboo about this whole thing is people don't want to talk. People don't want to talk because it's going to end up in an argument, or, you know, it's not gonna go very well. But that's when, you know, you have to put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants and learn to agree to disagree. I know you hate that, that term, agree.
I don't know why you're always ending with that.
You have to learn how to agree to disagree, and then let it go. You know what I mean? And there's no reason to hold on to too much animosity when you can't agree on something. Just be like, okay, that's what you believe, that's what I believe. All right, we don't believe the same thing. Hey, want to go have a beer? You know, I don't know.